miscommunication, restructuring, acquisition, documentation, and running for public office. What do all of these things have in common? Well, they're all a part of what I, as a business owner and entrepreneur, have experienced in the month of June. So in today's video, we are going to recap the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it's like in this past month as an entrepreneur. But before we go ahead and get started in this video, I am curious, what is one thing where you completely facepalmed this past month or where you completely knocked it out of the park? Let us know down in the comments below, and I will look forward to engaging and responding to you guys there. All right, so in the month of June, one of the first topics that we ended up having to address were some issues around like miscommunication, misalignment, not only internal resources, but also with some of our clients, and then some other outside resources as well, specifically within the community. And so a couple of things that this kind of looked like. We had one of our team leads depart the organization at the end of May, and we brought in a new person. And when they started taking a look at kind of like what everything was set up inside of our practice management software, things weren't documented to the extent that we had anticipated that they were supposed to be, or the level of standard that we had realistically established. And so this is one of those areas where, like, as a business owner, I have to take a lot of responsibility on myself for not kind of checking that, having set the expectations and having been told that, hey, we've got all this stuff, done the way that it needs to be. I didn't go in and verify and double check that. I trusted these folks to make sure that things were getting done the way that we had discussed and outlined them. Again, our business runs on the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, and we have our level 10 meetings. We have our quarterly strategy meetings. And so we had already kind of discussed and documented this. And so we very quickly at the beginning of the month ran into a situation with a client where certain things kind of weren't documented, and we really kind of had to, kind of jump in and do some damage control of sorts and really kind of start the process of documenting. So we've created an expectation. So we later in the month of June ended up having our quarterly EOS meeting, and basically what we've set as one of our number one rocks for the month of June is to leverage Fathom video. So if you're not familiar with Fathom, it's a great tool that you can use with like Google Meet or Zoom or whatever. And not only does it record your sessions, it creates a transcript and a summary for you. And from my perspective, the transcription tool in this is really, really good. It's one of the better tools for actually capturing kind of who said what, as well as making sure you clearly grab the information. And so we're using that now, and the team has an expectation of any client-specific task. They now need to create a Fathom video recording and attach that into the documentation. So I'm going to be doing an audit of that in the towards the back half of this quarter as the team is starting to build out those libraries to basically make sure that like I can go in not knowing what those client specific processes necessarily are, and can I repeat and replicate those. The second piece of stuff that really was a theme for this past month is that I serve on the board of directors for an organization called Healthy Kids Running Series, which is something that my daughter participates in, and was a really great experience for me to learn about, because as somebody who is an avid runner now, my experience with running growing up was one where, it was always like a form of punishment, right? Like doing sports, if you did something wrong, you had to go run, and never really learned how to build a healthy relationship with running until later, and found how to actually run for fun, to enjoy the process of running and the amazing community that exists behind running. And so Healthy Kids Running Series is really at its core about getting kids experience to having not only a healthier relationship in life, but it starts to build kind of that community around running that I am so thankful I found later in life. Unfortunately though, as a board member, we had to make the very difficult decision to separate with some of the leadership in that organization. And so we've had this process basically of needing to do all of our due diligence to make that decision, engage with outside counsel, and support the team as we've now gone through that transition. Fortunately, not all of the board members are local. I'm only about an hour away from the headquarters office. And so I've also started going into the office about 1 day a week just to be there to support the existing team as they're picking up some additional workload while we're going through this transition and kind of figuring out what is going to, basically be happening next. Those are, some of the two I always call big themes that certainly came up. Of course, I'm also in the middle of an acquisition. So that would be the third most important topic to talk about from the month of June. At the very beginning of June, I had the opportunity to travel out to Colorado to meet with the seller and the broker of the accounting firm that I am trying to acquire. We had a phenomenal visit with each other. The fit was fantastic. The cultural alignment with the seller is just I can't explain how very excited I am about being able to try to get this deal done. Fortunately, throughout the process and going out there, I had made the decision through the recommendation of the lender that I'm using to hire a third-party company to help write my business plan and do the financial projections, which with everything else I had going on, again, trying to do the acquisition, trying to run the firm, the transition that we talked about with the team member, the transition from Healthy Kids Running Series, I was like, I've got enough on my plate. I'm going to pay the money to hire this company to do these projections for us. And basically it did not go well. What was supposed to be done in a week ended up taking 3 weeks to get done. They didn't even use my company financials. They used some other company's financials. I have no idea where they came from when they did the first round of projections. It was a mess. But the bank could not move anything forward into the underwriting process until we had received that. So we received that finally after about 3 weeks, got that into the bank. And then unfortunately at that point, the bank then had a delay in getting their things into their underwriting. So technically recording this on July 9th right now, and it actually just got into underwriting yesterday. So we lost about an entire month between being able to do that. So my timeline on this particular transaction has been completely upended. Which impacts me for a couple of different reasons. I'm also going to be buying the real estate associated with this particular business. And to do that, I'm actually going to be selling off one of my rental properties that happens to be vacant right now. We also had delays in that process because we ended up having some foundation issues that needed to be addressed. And so that set us back 2 weeks on that timeline, to the point where we said, hey, we're probably not going to be able to complete the 1031 exchange that we want to do by selling the one property to buy the other. So let's decouple the process of buying the real estate from the business, and we'll do that as two separate transactions, which is actually beneficial to the seller anyway. If he sells the real estate next year, he will pay less in taxes just because of the total gains and stuff along those lines that ultimately get calculated for that. So a lot of moving parts basically in the month of June, and curveballs around the acquisition. So again, crossing fingers, I'll have another great and hopefully positive update for everybody in July with what new has gone on with the acquisition. One of the other exciting things on the acquisition front, though, is actually the fact that when I went out to visit the seller that exact same week, another firm in the exact same region of Colorado hit the market. And so I've had the opportunity to speak to that seller and to that broker. And at the very end of June, I had submitted to them an offer to also buy that firm. It's contingent on me buying this first firm. So it's going to be very interesting. If hopefully the first one goes through, we get the second one agreed to, then I may already have a second acquisition lined up to close towards the end of 2025 or already very beginning of 2026. So that is the activity that was going on from an acquisition perspective.
If you're interested in learning more information about our do-it-yourself and done-with-you group coaching programs, or if you're interested in taking your services to the next level with our fully outsourced accounting solutions, getting help with implementing Profit First, or even fractional CFO services, go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description below to find out more about these programs and how we can help support you.
So then one of the next things that kind of chronologically sort of fell in place is coming out of our quarterly EOS meeting. We also identified that we want to really kind of document our core processes better as well. So it's not just those client specific processes where we really need those training videos and things along those lines, but really also just mapping out, how do we what I call like little things. So we use a tool called 1Password, for example, to manage all of our client passwords and client vaults. And so they're separated into, like the people who need to have access to a specific client are the ones who have access to that, try to keep everything as secure as we can for our clients. All these kind of like little things that will start to make like our operations work a little bit smoother. Through this transition, we've realized that, there's just an opportunity to really tighten things up, and then leverage having new folks come on board to really kind of test those things out. Because the big thing that we talked about is like with this acquisition going on board. So the acquisition that we're doing, it's in a tax only firm. So they've got a lot of clients that they basically are doing taxes for, and about a third of their total client base are business owners. And if we were to bring on board just 10% of those clients into our accounting firm, because they do only taxes right now. So if we end up bringing on just 10% of those folks into the accounting firm, we would actually more than double the size of my existing accounting firm today. But being able to accelerate our ability to bring people into the organization is probably my biggest bottleneck for being able to grow at the rate that I want to be able to grow. And so again, between documenting not only the client specific stuff, but all of our general things is really going to make it easier to onboard additional accounting specialists and new team leads. And the more team leads I have, they're the ones that are doing our onboarding and our acclimation process, which is what all of our new clients go through. And that can take anywhere from like, if it's a really simple client, like 2 months, to a more complex client up to 4 months, to really kind of run them through that process of like creating all the documentation, all of the standards, all of the scope of work of like who's going to be doing what aspects of things. And sometimes there's like some iterations of like, oh, this didn't work, we got to rechange things. So my team leads are the ones who do all of that and build out all of the processes and procedures, put them into our system. And then that way, when it gets handed off to the rest of the team to do things, they know exactly what to do, the cadence on what's to do it, and have training on what all those things are, but also needing to make sure that when we bring new people in, they have the foundational information to really accelerate their onboarding into being able to do the work as well. So that kind of like shapes out a lot of the business related type stuff. So, but we've also talked about the fact that I've decided I'm going to run for the school board. So another big aspect for the month of June was starting the process of getting the signatures that are required to get on the petition to run for the school board. So that petition needs to be filed by July 28th. So again, I've got a few more weeks here in July to technically get it submitted in. But there was just a lot of like needing to reach out to folks in the community that I've, engaged with over the last many months for the most part, up until our daughter started kindergarten this past year. In addition to all of that stuff, I, had been pushing it off, but finally, I signed up for going to the gym. Now there is a specific gym I would love to go to. Big shout out to Pursuit Fitness and Adam Ferris over there. Really love what they do, but it's not necessarily the cheapest gym to join. So for right now, I finally just broke down, instead of saying like, oh, I'm going to do this and I need to wait until I can go join, Pursuit. And I just signed up for the Planet Fitness. That's, 2 miles down the road from the house. And I set a goal of going 3 times a week. Again, very excited about getting to the gym and starting to finally actually work on building up the strength and resilience that I need to hopefully stop getting injured in my running endeavor, so that as I try to build my mileage and my fitness levels back up, my body has the strength to not break down and not get hurt. So that's going to be a big thing. In our house, we are also bookworms. So we've really taken to logging all of our reading on a website called Storygraph. My wife and my daughter are reading way more books than I am, but I thought it would be interesting just to share with everybody some of the books that I consumed in the month of June as well. So I read Never Lose an Employee Again by Joey Coleman, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. Not the first time I've read that book, but it's a really great one. Task Force Hammer by Craig Allenson. I've also decided the new Hunger Games book recently came out. Earlier this year, at the end of last year, earlier this year, I was rereading all the Harry Potter books and then watched the videos. So I decided I was going to go back and reread the Hunger Games books and then watch the videos as well. And then the other book that I finished up was Dr. Ben Hardy's new book, The Science of Scaling, that he wrote with Blake Erickson. So those are the 6 books that I got through. All audiobooks, by the way. I pretty much only do audiobooks. I don't really I don't have the time to read physical books. I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing chores, running in the car, all of that sort of stuff. I don't have a ton of time to sit down and read. As you've heard, I've got a lot of different things going on. So that kind of recaps kind of some of the personal development and non-work related type things. If you'd like to hear some more about what it's kind of like being I call it a day in the life or a month in the life of a business owner and entrepreneur, I want you to go ahead and click the playlist right here on your screen so that you can check out more of the videos that I'm making that tell you all about what it's like to be a business owner. Look forward to seeing you in one of those other videos, and have a great day.